Welcome to the Ink Panels Graphic Novel Book Club, and this is episode 12. Next month is our one-year anniversary, and today we are joined by my normal co-host, Gambit, our permanent co-host, Jennifer, and my favorite guest ever, the comic queen, Nat. So glad to have you back on, and we're going to be doing Jennifer's pick, which is Monstress. So if you want to start us off talking about it, Jen.
Yes. So this book came out in 2015, published by Image Comics, written by Marjorie Liu, and artwork done by Sana Takeda. This one is so original. Like, I remember when this one came out, and a lot of times when we talk about these stories, like specifically, we talked earlier this week about like East of West and how East of West is a great story, but it never really had a cover that did it. Like, all the covers to this single issue comic were just, they draw you in. The artwork is just perfect for the story. If you haven't already read it, which hopefully if you're watching this, you have. If not, I'm sorry for any spoilers that we may kind of go on about. But it basically goes into this world that is all women. It's or majority women, majority female. And there is Maiko, half wolf, who she is basically like this world's version of a mutant. Like, I got X-Men mutant vibes from this. And there's a lot of talk about like class struggle, and it delves into issues about racism. And yeah, I really enjoy it.
It reminded me a lot of Naruto. Like, she's actually,
yes,
she has the nine-tailed fox in her, basically.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I've never watched Naruto, so I mean, I know of it, but I've never watched it. I got like Inuyasha vibes because that was my jam.
A little bit. Naruto, for some reason, I had the flu during a holiday, and Cartoon Network was showing a complete all-day event of it. So I finished all of it. I was like, all right, I need more. And next thing you know, I was like downloading all the manga raws, and I got all the way through, caught up with Japan. So I was kind of a little bit insane with it. Gambit, this is your first time reading it.
Yes.
Uh-oh, very subdued.
Yeah. So I almost couldn't finish it. I for some reason I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to enjoy it. I'm not saying that it's a bad book, but for me, it didn't work as I thought it was going to. I was expecting a little bit more. I feel like the book tries to be too many things at the same time, especially with all the it's like, we have this amount of space, so let's cram as much as I can.
There's a lot of information.
Everything, yes,
It's a ton, yeah.
And that's pretty cool, because it gives me a little bit more of the world. But I sometimes felt like I was reading too many things at the same time, and I don't feel like, although the art is really beautiful, I don't feel like it flows well. And there's moments where I just okay, so we went from one point to the other, and there's like no transition. There's like, it's like halfway through a page, the page starts in something else. It's like, oh wait, it changed. Oh, okay, I get it now. That person's not here anymore. It's a different conversation. So I found it a little bit difficult to read, and at some point, especially at the last few issues, I found myself trying to skip pages. It's like, no, what are you doing? You don't skip pages. You have to.
You're just
go
like
back,
dragging yourself to like finish it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's beautiful because it looks really beautiful, but I feel like it tries to be, it has like to be a fantasy book, a manga book, a comic book, and I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah, it felt like it's too much, and I just got lost and lost interest halfway through issue 2.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a totally like fair statement because it's like heavy and there's so much world building that happens in here. Like there are little guides in it, but that would be one thing. Like if I could get more of like a like a dictionary for the book or like explaining a little bit more what's going on. Like I agree.
I love the cats, you know, and here's
we all love the cats.
Yeah, and here's one. This is one of the reasons I feel like it's too much. I feel like the cats can be a complete comic, like a different comic just of the cats. You know, it's like the cats feel like it's from a Mouse Guard type of world. You know, where animals are it's like more Animal Kingdom, not humans. You know, but I don't know. I like it, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I was gonna like it.
Nat, your thoughts?
Okay. So this is actually my third time reading it, and I get where Gambit's coming from because I remember the first time I ever read it, I couldn't finish it. I was just like, I don't like it. It's too much. I just didn't enjoy it. But I feel like you just have to kind of push through, and somewhere along the way, like it just draws you in, and I think it just gets better. I do think it's a book that has to be read more than once, for sure. I never read like single issues or anything, so like volume is the only way I've read it, so I wouldn't know if that makes a difference. But I do agree that it's very heavy and it's like a lot of information thrown at you at once. But it's still like a world you want to know about and you want to read about and you find yourself interested in. So at the same time, it's something that you want to read, even though at first it might not like really like grasp your attention as much. I think everyone should give it like a chance. So I get where a lot of people love it, but I also understand how some people might not understand it at first.
I read it as single issues coming out, and weirdly I didn't mind it as much as now I read it in one volume as the trade. Which you can buy in stock trades or LCS, just saying. So this time around, the first issue felt interminably fucking long.
Yeah,
like,
when I was
it was very hard
it,
for me to go through.
I totally got that too, and like I went ahead and bookmarked on like I did a Sydney. I don't know if you can see my like little tabs in here, but I went in and you can see like the section that is supposed to be the first issue is like almost as much as like the next two issues combined. So it's like that issue 1 is thick with 2 C's girl.
So I will go even further with this. When it first came out, there was a huge problem with it. It was so big, it was tearing the corners of the book. So speculators were going nuts about it because they couldn't get 9.8s because it was just too big that it was ripping itself. It was too heavy. So little speculator info there. Because that was a huge deal and people were going fucking crazy in the collectors forums.
That just means that it's even more valuable, right? Because scarcity creates value somehow.
Just a lot of 9.6s now.
Yeah.
So for me, issue 3 is where it started going, where more of her and I can't remember what the demon's name is that's bonded with her, the old god.
Yeah.
When they start having their conversations back and forth, and he's like, come on, just let me sleep. What are you doing? Like, I just want to go back to sleep. It's a lazy fucking...
That reminds me of that the suit on this anime series, what's called Kill la Kill. I think it's called.
No, not Kill la Kill.
You know that she has this dress and she can talk to it and they have these conversations. That's how that felt to me. It's like
Vampire Hunter D, how he had that hand.
Yes,
that
too.
Yes, the jazz hand that can suck air into it. So yeah, by issue 3 it started going, and by the time the trade ended, I was like, okay, well, now I'm ready for more. Unfortunately, it just took forever to get there, which
Mhm.
This read was as painful for me as Gideon Falls is,
Oh wow.
where
Not
it
that I
doesn't.
necessarily think that that's a bad book, but I don't know.
No, it just keeps pulling the hook further where you want more, but it just won't tell you anything.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
you're just kind of frustrated.
I feel like it at some point it's like, okay, we get it. It's just stretching it a little bit too much, right? Especially right there at the end. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so we're almost on issue 5, and still we're getting introduced to character after. It's like another introduction, another new character. It's like, oh my god,
I
you
do
know,
love the cat, Ren.
it's pretty cool because it has a bunch of cool elements. It has a bunch of stuff that I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, But at the same time,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, come on, another character. Jesus, who are these people now? What do they want? Like,
Well,
I feel like it could have been written better differently. Like I feel like everything was just thrown in there, and it kind of like
just throwing
Marjorie kind of
everything at you one at a
expected
time.
us to know what was happening, and it's like that's how I felt when I first read it. I was just like, whoa.
yeah, it's like
Like you
I
catch
wanna.
yourself going back and saying, "Did I miss something?"
It's the info dump. It's just like, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. And we talked about that in Image books where they just dump all this shit at you right at the beginning and like, just keep up.
Yeah.
There's like in the one character that I feel like is my favorite, Professor Tam Tam. Is that it?
Yes,
Professor
yes.
Tam Tam. So for anyone who hasn't seen, I'll try to Professor Tam Tam is a little cat who kind of explains a lot of the history of the world. So I feel like you do get a little bit of an info dump from Professor Tam Tam. I thought that was adorable. However, I do wish that there was more of a character guide, because you're right, there's just a ton of characters, and several of the characters that do get introduced part of the way in the book. So maybe if there was more information about those characters as opposed to the mythology of the world. But I think that was one of the things that I really appreciated about it, is that it creates its own mythology, and it creates its own class systems.
Well, I mean, like Ren said, as the poets say, we're fucked.
We're fucked. That's actually one of the ones that I bookmarked. One of my favorite scenes. So, I don't know about you guys, but who were your favorite characters?
I kind of like Kippa. I don't know, 'cause maybe she's so naive and she's just
she's adorable.
She is adorable.
You're rooting for Kippa more so. I feel like I was rooting for Kippa more than Maiko.
Ren is definitely probably more my character though, because I do love how everything starts with "as the poets say."
As the poets say.
I mean, it's a cat, that I think it's not even fair to mention the cat. What's not to like. I like the. I would say that I don't have a favorite character. I don't feel
they're
like
all kind of unlikable.
I don't feel like I connected to these characters.
I think especially the protagonist. I feel like I wanted to root for her, but I don't feel like I was on her side from the beginning.
I did not feel anything for her. I sympathize more with the little girl that was always scared, because when the thing got tough, she got there and she was like, even though she was scared and she's little and she's completely useless, she got up there and she was ready.
They try to make you feel bad for Micah though, because right away they start with her being human trafficked, basically.
Yeah,
that's true. But I didn't feel for them. Sorry.
Go Nat.
Oh no! Finish. You can finish. Sorry.
So yeah, no, that I didn't connect with these characters as I connected with other characters in other books. Where I go shit. Yeah, I want this person to go through this thing. And I know it's probably gonna end up in the other place, smiling at this, but shit, I hope that they do. With these characters, oh, that's cool. She's probably gonna make it. Sometimes I felt it was a little bit too predictable. It reminded me a lot of Gona Guy's anime when I was growing up in the early 80s. And it reminded me a lot of G-Force and Mazinger Z and all these old animes that I used to watch when I was growing up. It reminded me a lot of that, and some of the things that I saw in the book, I've seen it in those old school animes. I'm talking like 70s things. I don't even know how to even compare it so that it makes sense. But like some of these characters, I felt like I've seen them before, and I guess that's true with almost any character these days. I think we talked about that a few shows ago, but I don't know. I guess predictable would be the word I would use to describe certain moments that go like, oh, okay, of course, I knew that was gonna happen. Like two on the nose is the expression.
It's got a lot of tropes, like anime manga tropes.
Yes, that's the word. Like I feel like all those, I recognize all those tropes. Like yeah, I recognize this one. I did and this and this and this, and I feel like it was too obvious. Like okay, so we have this amount of time, like I was saying earlier. So let's try to put as much as we can and as much hints of everything that we love, so that people know what we love. And I get it, because I'm pretty sure that if it was me, I would have tried to do the same thing. I would have tried to put everything that influenced me into becoming an artist. I would try to put it into that first book that I'm going to put out there. So, I mean, I honestly can't criticize it for that, but it just didn't captivate me as I wanted to. And I feel like I'm repeating myself.
Well, one question that I have, like, as you mentioned, like, you feel like there was a lot of influence from like older anime and older manga that you've seen. So I like know of some anime, and like I've watched very specific anime like Evangelion and Akira. Like I'm familiar with those. I'm not too familiar with the stuff like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z and like more modern stuff. So anyways, I guess my question would be, do you feel like this is more of a book for people who read anime and manga, or watch anime and manga, or do you feel like it's more for comic book people? Like, do you feel like you have certain expectations, having more expectations of anime and manga? Like, do you feel like that influenced your like not loving the book?
I think so. I think I am definitely not the target audience. And like I said, there's certain things that I really like, and I think that the book is beautiful. It didn't resonate with me like other books have. So I feel like someone who is more used to this manga style of books, and someone who reads more manga, I'm pretty sure will feel more familiar with the book than I am. I'm pretty sure that that's something that it's creating that disconnection between me and this book. It's just that it's not particularly what I would go for or read unless someone said, hey, you need to read this because I recommend you to read this. You know what I mean?
Okay, Nat, you go. You had something to say.
The what?
You were trying to say something earlier, but you got kind of.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was trying to answer the favorite character question, but no, I mean that's fine. So, no.
I'll shut up now. What's your favorite character?
No.
No, go ahead.
It went into the whole like manga Japanese culture thing, and that's an interesting subject. So like, that was a good question, Jen.
It's a bridge book. It's trying to get those manga readers over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think both would enjoy it. Yeah, for sure. Because it has a lot of that. Because she's Japanese, isn't she?
Sana Takeda is. Marjorie Liu is, I believe, half Chinese, half
Chinese or something. Yeah. So I'm sure they have some of that, like in their writing and art and stuff. That's why it's familiar.
Has anyone any of you who read this one, did you read Marjorie Liu's X-23 run?
Yes, and I hated it.
No.
I did not like it at all.
So I liked the story. I liked where it was going for the most part, but I hated the initial artwork. And then, so I read it after I had read this, and I had seen Sana Takeda's artwork, and she does the artwork on X-23 in issue 3. And reading issue 3 of that run of X-23, like, it felt like Monstress. Like, I felt like I was looking at the same exact characters. But I didn't know if anyone else had read her X-23 run.
I did. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I thought she progressed more as a writer come Monstress.
Yeah.
Or maybe she just had her shit more together of like what story she wanted to tell. Whereas X-23 is a character they never really flesh out that much.
No, and she's always part of like another team, and I think the same way that there's Batman, like every single iteration of Batman, we're always going to get a fucking origin story out of Batman, and I feel like...
Can we not talk about Batman, please? Because you're going to take down a dark road.
Okay, so I take all of those.
Especially with Matt here, it's gonna go down a dark road.
So, I mean, and I guess like that's how I felt about X-23. Like anytime we do an iteration of a character like that, we always have to get, like, no matter what type of rebirth or new story that we get on those characters, there's always going to be some type of, like, we're going to find out their origin story no matter what, even though we've seen the origin story on screen or however so many times.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and drink now because, now Tom King's going to tell an X-23 story with her and her feelings.
What?
I went there. I didn't need that to do that. You already went down the road. I already was like, oh, it's going to be X-23 going, why am I like this? Why did I have to be a clone? Why? Why, oh, why? Sana Takeda's art, I will do a whole appreciation of that. It's beautiful. Doesn't move the story along, though. She's a great illustrator, but I wouldn't say she's a cartoonist.
I feel like you get lost in the artwork sometimes where, like, I don't know if this is what you felt, Gambit, where it was like you get lost in the artwork a little bit and you're like, wait, what's going on with the story? And sometimes the characters even, like, maybe they feel a little bit too similar in style. Like, everyone has not the same face shape and everything, but... They
do. They all have the same face shape.
It's like you can only focus on one thing.
Yeah.
Time.
Let me see if I can find a specific page that I just that my bookmark just fell. But let me see if I can find that one specific page that when I read it, I was like, wait, give me a second, and I had to go back, but now I can't find it because of course I can't find it. So I wouldn't.
I was gonna say you got to use the sticky notes. I got small little sticky notes.
I don't like
sticky
notes
on
my comics.
We did the Scott Pilgrim. Cindy actually had like yellow ones for cringe moments.
Yeah, and I think that she did the same thing with Lock and Key as well. I remember when she was on there and doing her fabulous hot takes, which are not negative. It's just the real. But...
See, Nat and I both like the art on Lock and Key. I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I didn't either.
All right, so
I feel like the story was more. I was more focused on the story.
Yeah.
With Lock and Key.
In this page here, specifically, like what happened from here to here, like what happened in this panel, like nothing happened, and suddenly.
What page is that?
The Queen Wolf is not there, and she's talking to a monkey thing, like it went from having a conversation with the queen or I forgot how it's called specifically, but it went from a conversation there to a panel that just it doesn't say anything, to then suddenly she's talking to a monkey that has a heart shape painted on his face. Like, okay, what happened? You know what? Did I miss a page? This is a misprint, and that's when I say when that's there are moments like that where you're reading it and you don't know if you're reading a flashback scene. You don't it doesn't stand out
when it becomes a Tarantino film.
Like the storytelling part in the artwork in my opinion, was not that good. Visually it's beautiful.
That's what I say. As a cartoonist, you move the story along. An illustrator, it's just these pages where there's no move. Like Alex Ross, perfect example of an illustrator, but his art doesn't move the story.
No, it's like it's like looking at a Boris Vallejo painting and a Frank Frazetta painting. You see a Vallejo painting and you see that it's a model there. You see a Frazetta painting and you see an action and you see some movement inside that painting. So I mean, it's not something that it's easy to achieve either. Being a good storyteller is not that easy.
No,
but it's a being. So I mean, it's a comic book. You have to be able to tell a story visually. I should be able to follow this book without words. When I'm reading a book, that's one of the things that I take into account when I'm reading it. Can I follow this book without having to read the word balloons? If I can't follow what's happening in a page or two, or more or less grasp what's happening in a page or two without reading the book, then I feel like that the artist is missing something in the storytelling part. And I feel overall that the book could have been a little bit more polished. That maybe I don't know how long it took for her to write it, and I don't know how her process is, but I feel like it could have used a little bit of like, hey, you think we can make this here a little bit more, like to make it flow a little bit more,
like out a little bit more in advance.
I guess maybe a little bit more planning.
Because I heard Bendis is like crazy with his scripts, where he has thumbnails plus full script of how he wants everything to look.
Yeah, I mean, I know that some writers can, go crazy. Again, I don't know her process. It's just how it comes across, without knowing much. I haven't read anything from her before this either, so I have nothing to compare it.
I was shocked how much better a single issue read this was than an actual trade read.
Yeah.
Because I think the single issues, I had like a month to let it marinate.
And I think it's easier to like even go back and like maybe, I don't know, remember where you were at.
Because Mark Miller,
just, like, all
his
at once.
books, Mark Miller's books are better trade reads because they're so breakneck paced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really lose anything.
Same with I feel like with Brian Michael Bendis is the same thing. It's better to read it as a trade because you get the whole thing in one sitting than because Bendis tries to drag things out a little bit too, So and I felt that with this book at the end, I felt like, okay, we're kind of like that issue 6. I felt like it wasn't like we could have gotten that on issue 5. You know what I mean?
You can see that.
Like we need 6 issues, so let me drag this a little bit more
to like flesh out the full like volume.
So I feel like let me see. Like I said, I didn't connect with these characters, so I think that the fact that we got introduced with so many characters so fast with so many information, it kind of took away from developing a little bit more. Like, for example, the wolf girl, what's her name, Micah, and make me like her a little bit more, and make me feel like when she's struggling and hurting, to be like, oh shit, she's struggling and hurting. It's not when I read it and she has that arm turning into that huge Akira looking thing.
Yeah.
What I say in my head is not, oh shit, that must be painful. No, what I say, oh, I've seen that in Akira. You know what I mean? I don't mind seeing something. Like, I don't mind seeing that in another book, something similar, or something that's inspired by something else. I don't mind that. What I do mind is that when you do it and I notice it because everything else it didn't do its job correctly. You know what I mean? I feel like if that character would have been a little bit more fleshed out and I would have cared more for her, I would have ignored the fact that reminded me of Akira and be like, oh shit, that looks like it hurts a lot, you know?
Yeah.
So if I see, for example, if I see the same thing in another movie or a different thing or a different book, and it's done correctly, it's done well, I will ignore the fact that it's heavily inspired in that Akira scene, you know? I'll be like, shit, that must look like something that really fucking difficult to go through at that moment, instead of immediately going to like, oh, I saw that in Akira, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So outside of Gambit, the rest of you, how up to date are you with Monstress?
I think that I'm up to date on maybe the end of. I haven't read volume 4.
Nat?
I stopped at volume 2. I think I got only a little bit past it. I never finished it.
Because I thought it started moving a little bit better, where it's like Marjorie Liu figured out her writing and the pacing a little bit more. That, like, you actually feel like there's a little bit more keeping you involved. It's not as slow paced. And this first trade was like the slow play. It was just little bit. And then by the time you hit that last issue, you're like, great, we're somewhere and it ended. Fuck.
Like now we're kind of getting where we're actually, like, where it feels like it was leading up to. Because I think that, like, what the whole thing is about, like, family and trying to figure out who you are, trying to figure out who your family is. And I think at that point it's like, okay, we're actually getting there.
This literally was my favorite page that Sana Takeda drew in the whole book, and it's the very last page.
Yeah. You see, when I read that last page, I was not moved. I was not in awe. I was not shocked. I was not impressed. I was like, oh, they
told you nothing about Tuya. Like, literally nothing.
It's like, it does not surprise me at all. You know, am I supposed to be shocked by that? How close are they as friends? You know, I don't feel like they were actually close friends. You know,
and just for anybody who likes this book, we're not shitting on the book. We're just coming from an objective view of it. I don't want anybody thinking we're shitting on the book or anything, because I love this. I love the book.
Yeah,
but there are faults. There definitely.
I think that, like, ultimately, as you know, having gone a little bit farther than just volume 1, like, for me, the lesson of, like, reading this is, if you can, like, get through volume 1 of this, like, you're gonna really enjoy the series.
I'm definitely gonna read more of it.
Don't lie. Don't lie. You don't have to say it just because you're shitting on my pick.
He also said he was going to read Nailbiter. He hasn't read volume 2 or 3.
Not at all. Listen, if it was something that I didn't enjoy anything of it, I wouldn't even have finished it. I wouldn't even have made myself finish it. You know, because I know I there's certain, like I said, it has these elements where I went like, yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, oh yeah, I want to see more of that. You know, ooh, there's promise of this. You know, so I do feel like I would read the second volume, you know, but I am not going out of my way right now to buy that second volume.
You're probably going to read a couple other things before the second volume.
Yes.
I kind of compare this to Lock and Key, where if you can make it through volume 1, where volume 1's so damn heavy that you're dealing with a lot of the family drama, the wonder and fantasy actually starts in volume 2 and up.
Yes.
But you have to get through all the heavy, slow.
So you have to go through all the heaviness first.
Except for Jennifer getting mad about Gabriel Rodriguez's art, her and Cinia.
Okay, so I don't have as high. I mean, I agree.
Trigger.
It is okay. So I'll just leave it there. But I didn't hate the artwork. I just didn't love it for the story.
Sandman Universe. I recall you, Sandman Universe, getting upset.
I recall saying that when I heard it, I wanted to vomit in my mouth. You're right.
Yep.
Wow.
Ding. Trigger.
I just don't think that the artwork would be right for the Sandman universe. But, you know, that's
who is that again?
Thing.
Gabriel Rodriguez, the Lock and Key artist.
Oh, yeah. The Lock and Key artist. Yeah. I got it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Be right back. Hold on one sec.
I have a couple of recommendations, let me go ahead and ask Nat and Gambit. Do you feel like you would recommend this to people, or do you feel like there's a certain person you would recommend this to and someone who you wouldn't?
I think I would recommend it to everybody. I think everybody would have. Some people would have a different opinion on it. Like you either hate it or love it, I think.
I would recommend it.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend it. But it wouldn't be like in my list of top things you need to read. If I gave you everything that I feel like you should read, before you die.
Yeah.
And somewhere in that list, the book is there.
How many Alan Moore books are in that top 10 before you hit it?
The what?
How many Alan Moore books are in your things to read?
Oh man, that's not a fair question.
If it's like a top 10, like I feel like Watchmen has to be on that like top 10 comic books you have to read. But there's so many other books that I'd put on that list too that'd be a hard one.
Because I 100% have Swamp Thing up in that.
Ooh.
I would have to read. So I would. Sorry, I would have to read his Swamp Thing again. I don't even remember how much of his run I read, honestly. So I would have to.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean.
Neil Gaiman Sandman probably would be in my top 10, especially the first 1 or 2 trades.
Yeah.
So I feel that with Sandman, I feel like Sandman, it's like the whole series occupies one slot. You know what I mean? I don't feel like you can pick up just one trade of Sandman and say this is the definite book you need to read from Sandman.
It's
for
all
me,
or nothing.
Yes, for me with Sandman, it's like you go in and you consume all of it or get out. Don't even try.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a Wednesday episode now. Top 10 books you have to read before you die.
Ooh, done.
That's killing a lot of children.
That is.
That is.
Man, that's a tough list.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. Well, I know what Sid's going to be yelling at me about next time.
Yeah.
What are the comments? I can't read the comments.
No. Sid, we have no comments.
Okay.
There's nobody watching. No, there's 3 people watching. No, Sid went off on my image. Sid went off on my image list, like big time.
Because Descender wasn't on it. Right?
She doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know me anymore. That's what Jennifer said. That was so precious.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that episode another time. We'll do that after. Hey, we have new comics coming back too.
Oh
Yay.
my goodness! Please and thank you, and
when
not just like random DC DC single issues.
And it's a Rick Remender book coming out, Deadly Class, for one of the first Image books coming out. Yay! I stand for him. So we have Tuesday issues coming out and Wednesday issues for deliveries. What the fuck?
Tuesdays?
Yes. Yeah. DC's coming out on Tuesdays now.
That's interesting.
Yes.
If I feel like there's like 2 sides to this whole Tuesday is the new Wednesday type thing, where I feel like there's comic shop owners who are like, this fucks up our whole workflow. Like Tuesday, because we normally get our shipments in on like Monday or Tuesday. Tuesday's the day that we arrange all of our pull boxes. And now like DC is now saying, if you get your books on Monday, you can start selling them on Monday. If you get them in on Tuesday, you can start selling them on Tuesday, like however that may be. So now it's become like the haves and have nots, because there are some stores that get them early on Monday and some stores that don't. So like, it's just creating a whole like disparity between comic book stores.
So I have a question for everybody. As someone who's not on top of their pull list that often, how much have you missed the weekly books? Like I know, Nat, you get your deliveries, once a month or every 2 weeks?
No, I used to when I did online ordering, but now I get them at my shop. So whenever I can go pick them up. And I've really started doing that though. So yeah, I didn't have enough time to get used to it. before this whole shutdown happened.
Like I'm missing a little bit. Like of course for the show stuff, it's been rough, but weirdly enough, Jen and I.
I'm actually really glad it stopped because it gave me a chance to catch up on my stack, and then now I'm reading like crazy. So I think it's amazing.
Like the shutdown happened after
it's a break I needed.
For sure.
Yeah, I feel like we need it. I honestly feel like the industry needs to start thinking about changing their ways. I feel like weekly, monthly books are a thing of the past. Honestly, I think that we should concentrate in arcs. They have enough material and enough product to concentrate in arcs and have enough books out there to exist. And I also feel like we don't need 120 new books every week. You know what I mean?
Jamal, 100%. It's a reaction to COVID, I think.
Yeah.
Also, I think DC wants to beat everybody else to the market.
For
so
sure.
that way, Tuesday, they have a head start. Someone wants DC books, that's all they're going to be able to get on Tuesday.
They're going to spend, because like I know for me, like I do buy a lot of books and I do buy a lot of single issues. Since I moved, I didn't have a chance to like really start a pull list. There was a lot of stuff like ending and changing right before COVID happened. So I didn't get a chance to get a like solid pull list, but I was still going into like a local shop every Wednesday, going in and just like picking what I could up off the shelf and maybe getting some stuff off the secondary market after that.
Same.
But I think that I don't know, it's tough out there for a comic book store.
Well, Marvel taking all their mid to lower tier books and throwing them all to digital.
Yeah.
Especially when they're already in progress is kind of interesting. Yeah. Like that.
Wait, Marvel's doing what? I'm sorry, I'm not up to date with this news.
They took Hawkeye, threw it to digital, and a bunch of their mid to lower tier books that had already been being published in print, threw them all to digital only.
Yep.
Okay.
DC, I hear, is in the progress of doing the same thing.
Yeah. Like I know that they just canceled the Terrifics or something.
It's going to digital only.
Going to digital only, and
was that still being published?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But I mean,
I read
think
5
that
issues.
For me, like
so some books are gonna be like digital only?
Yeah, Hawkeye Freefall got moved to digital only.
Some of the books were at the end of their run anyways, so it was just going to happen in the next like 4 to 5 issues. So like some things you may be able to get like 1 or 2 of the issues, and then like the rest is just going to go to trade, but you're not going to see like the like floppies.
But that's interesting. That's interesting because now it's going to make the trade a collectible more than just having a trade. You know what I mean? Now some people will want the trade because it's the only print version of issues 6, 7, and 8 of whatever run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That could be. I just know for the people who are already buying the print, you're kind of fucking them a little bit because I'm one of those insane people.
Yeah.
I want.
Me too.
Oh yeah, I hate that Batman, All-Star Batman and Robin is not finished. You say with Battle Chaser.
My Batman run after the wedding or non-wedding, I have a huge gap until James Tynion takes over.
Why is that?
Why is that? Oh, Nat, you want to field that?
I still picked up the issues regardless. Like,
well, you did.
I just couldn't. I kept telling myself I wasn't. Anyway. Yeah, I was like, no, I'm not going to. But then I was like, I can't do that. Like,
there was one.
I have picked up. I have never dropped Batman from my pull, and I was like, I'm not going to.
There was one week of reviews. Nat watched mine. She's like, oh my god, I felt the same way. Like, you look confused and lost. I was like, I was. Like, I just didn't know what to do. Like, it was such a bad issue. Like,
They were all bad issues after the wedding.
Tom King doesn't know how to write women. He just doesn't.
I think that's a lot. I think that's, as a woman, I think that it's tough to see a lot of writers.
Excuse me, young ladies. Let me.
Okay.
Gotham Girl was written like a fucking retarded youth.
Use
I hate
the
using the
R
word. But literally, she couldn't say anything worthwhile.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of the worst issues I've ever read. And, like, I started cursing in the store reading it because I wasn't buying it, so they were letting me read it off the rack.
I was going to say, you're one of those people who just, like, goes up to the racks and reads them.
And then he asked me to please stop cursing while there's customers.
You know, I thought Gotham Girl had a lot of potential, like, at the beginning.
Very much.
At the beginning. And then whatever he did with her, like, in the story, I was just like, why? Like, I don't know. He used her in the most terrible way he possibly could, and it was very disappointing.
I honestly did not like those characters.
I apologize for using the R word. I'm sorry.
I like the overall story. I was enjoying King's Batman for a while. I stopped reading it in Cold Days with that thing where he was the juror for Mr. Creepy's court appearance. I was like, this is kind of. I thought it was a cool idea, but there were some things of the execution that I really enjoyed. I was like, that was pretty cool. But then there were things like, oh man, this feels kind of, I don't know. You know?
I think in that arc, King was really just trying to show how depressed Batman was.
He was depressed the whole
after the whole wedding thing, and that's when I was just like, oh my god, like he shouldn't be depressed. He's freaking Batman. He needs to like get over it.
This is why I have no problem. I have absolutely no problem with Robert Pattinson playing Batman because Batman is an emo kid. And like I totally see Pattinson playing that emo kid.
MCR patch on his arm.
Yeah, for sure.
So I need to call you out on something, Jennifer. And since Nat's here, I really need to do it.
Got it.
Okay.
Jennifer hated Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, hated it.
Did not like Mime and Marionette.
You did not like Doomsday Clock?
No, I feel like when I saw Marionette and what's the guy's name? I couldn't get Mime, and I couldn't get through it, and I feel like that they were just. I understand your point that with those two characters, they were trying to like do justice to like the Harley Quinn Joker, but like dynamic, which is just literally toxic. But I feel like it was
these two.
Theirs wasn't not toxic at all.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that Joker and Harley's relationship is toxic, and I think that like they were trying to make up for that toxic relationship by giving us Mime, and Marionette. And I felt like it just felt like, and please don't hate me for saying this, but it was like a Great Value brand Joker and Harley.
Oh God!
Wow.
I'm so sorry. Maybe
I can see that.
Maybe that, and that's honestly like maybe that's on me. Maybe that was just because that was my first impression because I was reading it and I was like, are they trying to like do like maybe in the same way, Gambit, that you felt about some of the characters on Monstress, where like I've seen this before, and honestly, I picked up like the first couple issues of Doomsday Clock and didn't really like feel it, and then I waited for the trade. Started to read the trade and I was really like pushing myself to get through it, and I couldn't finish it. So maybe I'll go back, and my promise to you guys is that I'll go back, I'll reread it, and I'll see if I have a different opinion once it's done. But
I really thought issues 6 through 12, that's where it really picked up, that the story started making sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with you not liking it. I will give you shit just for the sake of giving you shit, you know. But there's nothing wrong with you not liking it. It's like we can't expect that everyone likes everything that we like.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be boring.
I'm a firm believer. I remember in high school, I would want to like read a super long Charles Dickens book because it's a classic literature, and I'm a book nerd, so I'm supposed to like love reading. But I learned that like if you don't love something, you don't owe it to finish reading it. So I'll try to go back, I promise. But if I don't love it a second time,
Nat and I did an hour and a half just on the last issue. So like that's why I was just like, Nat's here. I had to call you out on this.
Damn, an hour and a half on just the last issue.
Yeah, we did. That's when I was mid breakdown too. So like,
I remember that. I'm sorry, I haven't finished that. I haven't finished it. I still need to read the last 2 issues.
But it's one of those things where like I totally understand how people can't like Tolstoy, War and Peace. I've tried to read it 7 times. I hate it. Jane Austen, I hate.
I
don't.
hate
It's
Jane
not for me.
Austen, hate Charles Dickens, and yeah, the big brand versus generic brand. Is it quality or perception? And it, honestly, like I'm 100% here, like admitting that it could be like my perception of it, and that may not be what was going on, but
100%. I feel like it was Jeff Johns trying to make a correction of something he didn't like.
You think?
A little bit, yeah. I know Jeff Johns has had comments in the past, like when he was on Kevin Smith's podcast, the Fat Man on Batman, he admitted he hated Grant Morrison's Bat God. And then, of course, he does that Justice League Darkseid War and then makes him Bat God. And then has 3 Jokers now that's coming out that's now delayed.
Is that coming out or not?
Pushed to August now.
Okay, I mean, I get it now. It would be pushed to August, but is it actually going to happen, or
it is? It has a date.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I remember they announced that.
Jason Fabok has been posting nonstop art from it, and for fuck's sake, that guy is great.
Yeah, he's really good.
He is. It's weird if you took a bastardized version of Silvestri and David Finch and put them together, you have Fabok.
You see, I don't see Silvestri in his work. I do see a lot of Finch in his work, though, but I don't see Silvestri in his work.
The splash page is kind of in the same way that Phil Jimenez.
Yeah,
you can see the George Perez influence.
Oh yeah, that's super obvious. That's like so obvious.
So what are we rating this book? Like what's our grades? Would you recommend?
Oh,
All right. So who's gonna start? Do I start?
Yeah,
sure, you're the first reader.
You go.
Yeah, sure. I'll start. So like I said earlier, I would recommend it. But it wouldn't be like in my first, list of things that you should read. It's just gonna be somewhere in those recommendations is going to be in it, but it's not gonna be like in my first. You need to read Monstress. That's one of the things I need to read. Depending on who I'm talking to, too. Depending on what I feel. Like, for example, if my kid is bored, I wouldn't tell him to read this book because I don't know, he might not enjoy it. Because I know I know how what he likes. So I would try to it's like, hey, so I have this. Oh, and there's also I have this book that I didn't enjoy that much, but it was still a fun read. I would give it a 6. I honestly feel that I can't just more than that.
Jen?
So I think that I'm gonna preface my whatever out of 10 on no. I'm gonna preface my 1 out of whatever out of 10 on I need to say this statement is that whenever I've rated stuff, I've rated a book an 8.5 out of 10 and then gushed about another book and gave it a 7.5. And I remember one of my friends was like, I don't understand your rating system. And I'm here to let you know, I don't understand my rating system either. When I think about it, how you rate food and it's appearance and smell and mouthfeel. For me, all of the comic books that I read, it comes down to mouthfeel. How do I feel when I'm consuming this book? And it couldn't even be I rate the artwork a 9 and I rate the story a 9 and whatever. So anyways, knowing that and just how I feel about this book, I would definitely give this one a solid 8 out of 8 to 8.5 out of 10 for sure.
Matt?
With Jen, I think I have a different rating system as well. I do usually stars, 5, out of 5. But if I have to do an out of 10, in numbers, because when I see stars, I see the stars. but when I do numbers, I see like
You
numbers.
can go with whatever.
So
We don't really have a
it would be
format.
like a, no, I know, but it would be like a 7 out of 10. But if you're doing stars, it would be like 4 stars out of 5. Like if I had to rate like out of 5, it would be a 4. But if it would have to be out of 10, it would be like a 7.
I'm sitting at a solid 7. And weirdly, I would have been higher on the single issues. But as a trade read, it's a 7 for me because that first issue was so interminably slow that it literally almost made me quit. And
it's a
weird
long
to say
first
that.
issue. It's a long first issue. So, yeah.
Sana Takeda's art, I love. Not the best storytelling, I'd say, as you're reading, as some other artists are who were kind of high concept. I'm not doing this as a Rick Remender stan, but Greg Tocchini on Low, his storytelling is much better for an art that will distract the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
And Sana Takeda's art will distract you at certain times.
So I don't know about everyone else, but like I always like to bring my like recommendations.
I actually have a recommendation ready.
Beautiful. Do you want to go with yours? Because I have 3, so you go with yours.
I have one.
Okay.
So going into the whole anime tropes thing, there is a book by Jim Zub called Wayward.
Oh.
I really love, with an Irish girl with Japanese parents, and it turns out she is one of the new gods of the Japanese culture, where she controls the threads of fate. And they have there is a cat god, Ayani, who she can, in a puff of smoke, turn into all these little cats. There is a kid who eats ghosts and gains superpowers from them. There is another girl who controls inanimate objects. It was Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Japanese culture. The closest thing. And they had one of the weirdest Phantom variants, where it was the 2 girls, Rory and Ayani, one wearing a sex criminal shirt saying Brimpers, and the other one wearing a lion cat shirt.
Beautiful.
And it 100% brought me into this book. It was fun, it was deep, it was dark, and it was these new gods of Japan trying to take out the old gods of Japan.
What's the name again?
Wayward.
I was looking on my shelf. I'm like, I could swear that I have the first trade of that, but I don't think that I've ever read it because I feel like I would have, just from based on your like elevator pitch on it, I would have totally recommended that for this. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I never heard of that one.
It's fun. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's fun. Oh, Jennifer looked confused.
It's because
that's what we're doing, Nick?
I have it right here, and I have yet to read it, so I'm gonna take it out of and like put it on my to be read shelf right here. So I have 3 recommendations for things that I would recommend based on if you liked it, and maybe even if you didn't like Monstress, I would say go ahead and read these because maybe you'll like them more. The first one, I would probably go with anything by Junji Ito. Just because I feel like, one, the artwork is really fun.
Body horror,
100%, and especially like thinking about the weird like monster coming out of her arm, because there's a lot of that imagery. There's one story in particular that I in this book, and it's Painter. It's kind of the basis. A lot of people know Tomy that he did, and this was kind of like the precursor to Tomy. It's kind of in the same vibe where a girl's trying to like paint herself and she only sees herself as ugly. So I'd highly recommend probably anything by Junji Ito. If you did enjoy Monstress, if you didn't enjoy Monstress. The second book that I would recommend, and it's because I recently went and read it because it was on Comixology Unlimited, but Alita Battle Angel. I went and read that, and it was actually really fun. I hadn't read the manga, but I had watched the movie.
Watch the movie, everybody. Please, God, watch that movie.
And honestly, like, the movie was really great. I really enjoyed it. But then I went back and, like, I just read the manga, and it's so similar, and I think that it really did a good job of. There's a lot of things in the manga that I feel like wouldn't have worked on screen, and they did it well on screen. So once again, like, read the manga, go watch the movie. The last recommendation that I have is one of the comic books that like really got me into comics and graphic novels, and that's Kabuki by David Mack.
Yes.
So
Hi, Sanimation.
hello. So yeah, this is David Mack is one of the creators that I really enjoyed, and kind of in this for some reason I thought this was a Vertigo title, and 100% it's an Image title, and I know that there was some weird, like, I think it went back and forth.
It was another company before Image took it.
Yeah. So I think I read it when it wasn't Image, but the collected volume that I have is Image. So this one goes into a little bit more of like Japanese, a little bit of like Yakuza type culture, but like neo, like futuristic. But yeah, I love David Mack's artwork. It's beautiful.
I would also go with his run on Daredevil that he did with Bendis, where he introduced Echo.
Yep.
There's that, and of course, he only does the covers for it, but Pearl.
Yeah,
if
Pearl.
You want that whole Yakuza thing.
Yep.
I wouldn't
necessarily recommend Pearl for Monstress. Like, I was kind of thinking about it. But yeah.
I was just trying to get Gambit to read Pearl, since it's a tattoo artist who's a Yakuza assassin.
Pearl is an incredible storyline. I highly, highly recommend it.
I need to check it out, but every time I go to the comic book store, I forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Any recommendations, Nat, that you think that people who like this would like that?
No, I wasn't prepared for this.
This is every episode for me. We end up going on Jags. We're like, wait, what? Oh no. I don't ever prepare. I really don't.
I try.
Anything for you, Gambit?
I legit have nothing. I have nothing to recommend like that's similar to this. But that's why I think just because I didn't enjoy it 100% doesn't mean that someone else is not going to enjoy it either. You know. Again, it's just because I didn't have the fun I was expecting out of the book doesn't mean that it's not good. It's going to work the same way with everyone else. But I don't have anything similar on my books that I can say, well, I recommend, if you like this, I recommend that you read this. You know, I legit, what you guys were talking about, I'm here looking at my bookshelves. I'm like, what do I have here that I can compare it that's maybe similar? But I
mean, flat out, like Akira, if you haven't read it, it's a fucking massive volume of manga to read.
Yeah,
but if you've only watched the anime,
6 volumes.
Yeah,
it's gigantic. And then the Parasite has body horror also, and the anime is on Hulu, I believe.
Oh, I have the DVD here, so
yeah,
and I have those books at one of those shelves too.
So, for anyone who is just wanting to read comics, what are we recommending right now that they should be getting up on during this whole COVID nonsense? Well, not nonsense, but pandemic.
Yeah.
My go-to is always going to be Saga. Like, I feel like I scream at the top of my. I know I talk about it.
She's like, yes.
Every single every chance I get to talk about Saga, and like, you know, Saga's been out since 2012. It has won so many awards. I walk around like proselytizing about it, like talking about it. I will read you a Saga bedtime story. Like,
Me too. I buy volumes just to give them away to people.
100%. Like, Saga.
Yes, I do that all the time.
Hello.
It's like definitely one of
a good night story for you.
Please, like, I will read you Saga as a bedtime story. Like, and like you said,
Now,
like
of it?
Yeah. I will like give you like Saga Volume 1. Like, that's usually like a gift that I give to people. It's like my number one recommended book, and it's 100% one of my favorites. And it blows my freaking mind that people still have not picked up Volume 1.
Uh-oh. Gambit's got
Oh.
one.
Gambit's got something for us. So I'm curious if this is going to be like his recommendation for COVID or if this is going to be his recommendation for Monstress.
Yes.
You're doing suck ASMR.
So funny story about ASMR. I'm thinking about doing, since I just got a new microphone, I'm thinking about doing some ASMR. Hit me up, please. Well, I'll do some weird Jennifer ASMR stuff.
I feel like this took a weird turn, but I'm interested.
Oh, it gets weirder.
All right. So a book about a girl that has a monster inside, and she has to struggle with the fact that she has a monster inside. It's this book. It's called Chica Cabra. It's by Tom Beelan. It's a girl that has a chupacabra inside of her. It's based on characters in Puerto Rico. That's why it has
the Puerto Rican flag. Yeah.
That's why it has a Puerto Rican flag there. But the interesting thing is that it's if you want to learn about some of Puerto Rico's culture, this book, it's great. You can learn something from Puerto Rican culture, current culture, by reading this book. But the interesting fact is that Tom is not Puerto Rican. He's from California. He was married to a Puerto Rican and he lived in the island for a while, and he loved the island so much that he wrote a book on characters based on the island. So it's a book about a girl that has a monster inside and she's struggling with that, and it's very, very beautiful book. It's in black and white, and the style reminds me a lot of the dude from Bone, Jeff Smith.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So his work reminds me of that. And he not recently, when Black Panther came out, he did a variant cover for Black Panther. So yeah, this is a book that if you like Monstress, you might enjoy this book. Actually, I thought I didn't have something similar, but turns out that I do. It's a really good book. And it's fun, and it's very interesting the way you get to see some of my culture through the eyes of a stranger that live in the island for a while, and it's a very beautiful very beautiful love letter to Puerto Ricans, if I be that bold to say that,
I can already tell you who would hate that book because she didn't like Puerto Ricans. My ex.
Boo.
So
what's it called?
Chica Cabra.
Chica Cabra. So like
not chupacabra.
Got it.
Yeah, Chica means girl. Chica means girls, and Cabra means goat. So it should be like girl. Yeah, something like that. Girl. But it's a play on the word chupacabra. So goat sucker.
So I have a book that I will go door to door and proselytize. Planetary.
Yep, I should have.
If you haven't read it, please do. It's Warren Ellis, one of his best works after Transmetropolitan. If you want to see him get cheeky about the whole superhero culture.
Yeah, I have to. I've been wanting to read that for a while.
Jennifer did a video on it.
Or at least the
intro by Alan Moore.
The Alan Moore talking through space and time.
And if you want to get through the pandemic preacher, try and figure out who the real villain of the book is. I have thoughts. Could be Cassidy.
I finally picked that up. Everyone always recommends it. Well, it hasn't came in yet, but I finally got it.
Wasn't your post that I saw then? Who did I saw that?
No,
someone got that book recently, and it popped up on my Instagram.
No, she was actually reading novels lately, so she posted novels.
Yeah, okay, I ordered it. It hasn't came in.
All right, so I apologize. It wasn't your post that I saw. I was confused.
No.
But seriously, once you finish reading the series, because you're going to want to read the whole series, we're going to do a stream on it, because now that I know that Sid's not going to come on, I guess I can do it.
So with Preacher, I feel like he's the same as Sandman. Like Preacher, it's like in my top 10 book, I have Sandman and I have Preacher. It's like, okay, if whatever number it occupies, it's like all 9 volumes in that number. So
You're in it for the
position
long
number
haul.
6 is Preacher. What volume?
Okay.
All of them. Like it's the whole
Yeah.
thing. Otherwise, it's just not.
I'd be very
Don't
surprised if you don't like it, Nat. I'd be very
I'm
surprised.
excited. I'm excited. I think
might
as soon as
be
it comes
overhyping
in, I'll probably put it at the top of my pile because I have a huge pile. It'll be at the top.
We all do.
I'm trying to read.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to read like one trade a day. So
I
that'll be
wish.
fun. No, like that's my goal. So
Weirdly, I found Mark
Okay.
Miller. His stuff ends up making the top of my
Huh?
list a lot. Mark Miller, or Millar, or whatever he pronounced.
Mark Millar.
It ends up getting to the top of my list a lot. Of like when my read pile comes in, I find I read his stuff pretty early in the pile.
Really?
I do, but even though I think he's better as trades.
So what's your when you get books to read? How do you start reading them? How do you choose that order? Do you go from the list that you want to read first?
Okay,
like
so
get that one out of the way,
the most
and leave the
recent-
ones that you want to read for later.
Over the past year and a half, it would be Saga would be the first one on the pile. Nailbiter. When Witches was coming out, that was pretty high up there.
So it's basically what you want, what you're most interested, you read first.
Magic
Yeah.
Order was
For
very
me,
high.
Yeah, for me, I notice a lot of the Image titles are
Yeah.
always at my top. And then it's
Same.
DC, usually what's good, like storylines that
Although
I'm,
the Boom
interested in
titles have
continuing.
gotten high up. Once in Future,
Yeah.
Something is Killing the
some Boom
Children.
titles
That
are-
worked its way up.
So like the indie titles, yeah.
Yeah.
And then my Marvel will always be
It's
last.
down there, except for Moon Knight. When like
Yeah.
Warren Ellis was writing it, it was like a little bit higher up.
Huh, that's interesting. So when I choose my books to read, I usually read the ones that I'm less interested. I read them first because otherwise I
You'll
won't
never
ever
read 'em.
get to them.
I
That's a
chase
good
writers.
strategy. That's a good strategy.
I chase writers now more than ever. Where before I used to chase artists,
Yeah.
but now I'm kind of like I'm in it for the stories, not so much the artists anymore. I mean, there are some artists though, like 100%. Like they put out a book, like Gary Frank, he puts out a book. It's high up there.
Yes, but it's usually you see for me those artists that I follow, I are most of them attach already to a writer that I already follow.
Like if Todd McFarlane actually did an entire issue of a book, it would be up there just to see.
Yeah, just to see it. For me, for example, Esad Ribic, wherever I see his name, I want to buy that book, and chances are that it's written by Jason Aaron. So double win. You know what I mean? I mean, I didn't discover Esad Ribic's art through Jason Aaron, but it was Jason Aaron's work that made me pay attention to Esad Ribic's work.
Oh, definitely, 100%. Stuart Immonen, I wouldn't have known about had it not been for Bendis doing the Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God, yes.
There's a couple like Mike Henderson. Had it not been for Nailbiter, he wouldn't have been on my radar at all.
I can see that.
You got to catch up on Nailbiter because I will say that first issue of Nailbiter Returns.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's fun. It's good.
I feel like because I only read volume 1 of Nailbiter and I didn't get too much into it, and I feel like it was just enough of like the first volume that like you could, if you haven't finished all of it or any, like you could easily get into issue 1 of the new Nailbiter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I feel like I'm a little bit biased because it's like now in Portland, or at least the first issue was in Portland.
It
and I'm
is.
like, hey, it's me. It's where I'm at.
It fills in the blanks just enough that you don't feel lost.
All right.
Weirdly, on the whole anime kind of thing or girl empowerment, I'd say Hack Slash is up there if you were reading Monstress.
Hack and Slash?
Yeah. I was thinking of the title still, like, if you like Monstress, you might like...
Yeah. You might like that one, too.
I feel like Monstress goes a little bit more into, like, the, like, sci-fi horror, where Hack Slash is definitely going to be that,
Straight horror.
Straight horror. slasher, obviously, but definitely.
So it could be closer to Coffin or not
Coffin Bound.
Coffin Bound.
Coffin Bound. Oh my goodness! I know you didn't, or that I think that this is me paraphrasing your words, but
it reminded me of Hack Slash too much.
Yeah. The Great Value brand of Cassie Hack.
Oh, God. It was okay. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
But it was okay.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, Pretty Deadly, just for Emma Rios' art.
Yeah.
To check it out.
Pretty Deadly.
That fantasy.
Oh yeah, I read that first volume of Pretty Deadly, and I read it, and I picked it up because the art was the thing that made me pick it. I was like, I like this cover, and I that's why I got the trade for it. It was a really good book.
Nat, any female empowerment books or female centric characters that you would pick out as something you'd recommend?
I don't like female centric characters.
Not even Jessica Cruz?
That's one of the main reasons I don't like female superheroes and stuff.
I
don't like the whole female empowerment.
I thought Jessica Cruz.
Oh, I love Jessica Cruz, but she's not.
She's a flawed character, but she's
not really like a female empowerment leader type of girl. If anything,
she gets stronger as it goes on, though. At least in Justice League Odyssey.
You said that you don't like female empowerment characters, or what? If you don't mind me, I want to dissect that a little bit. What? No. I know you're laughing, but I feel I don't know. I want to know why.
It's a personal issue. I think it has a lot to do with my beliefs and my views on stuff. But I'm not gonna go into that. I mean,
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, it's fine. I just don't like it. Sometimes it seems like it's too pushy. I feel like all those books are a little too pushy in trying to bring women up to, be powerful and stuff like that. And I don't feel that way. So
you don't feel like women sorry. Maybe we'll talk about that on another time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Where's Dan? I've been drawing. Glad to show you guys this while I was we're talking about Monstress. Look at that. A sketch.
You're not doing any more Rob Liefeld drawings?
No, I'm not talking. No, it's not. I don't. Why would you bring him up?
Because the last time you were on the show, you're doing a Rob Liefeld drawing.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it was what I had in front of me, and I just wanted to. I actually like that character that I was drawing, so that's why I did it. It wasn't for any other reason.
So on a not bullshit thing though, I will give Rob Liefeld credit though, because he was selling his drawings and he was donating to a lot of shops, straight no profit for him.
Yeah.
He helped out 2 shops in our area. One in Orlando, one in not Naples, but somewhere in that West Coast area. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So he was doing 16 for 16, and he got I want to say $3,000 for almost every one of those sketches he did. So I mean, I'll give him credit where it's due, and of course, he had to announce who he helped because that
of course,
wouldn't
be Rob Liefeld without going out of his way to let everybody know.
Yeah, no profit for him,
but I mean, in that case, I feel like it's something that it needs to be clear, especially if you're promising people that what you're going to do with their money, especially these days.
Yeah,
being transparent like that, it's not a bad thing. Hey, you bought this art, and I promised it was gonna go to a store. So here's a store that I choose, and I'm helping this store.
With what Jim Lee's been using for the DC stuff, they have not been clear how much is actually going to the shops.
Okay.
So that was a thing.
I guess that's their personal choice. I can't condemn them for that. Even if they get just a little to the store, something is better than nothing. I guess. But at least they're doing something. You know, there's others that aren't doing shit. You know, for
one of the stores that Rob Liefeld helped was actually Acme Comics in Greensboro, where there's a guy on Twitter, Lord Retail, who runs that store.
Mm-hmm.
Who every Wednesday or Tuesday night, he always made sure he went on and talked about every comic book coming out. He would flip through and give a summary of what they were to try and build interest in those books.
Yeah.
So I always gave that guy a lot of credit, and he was they were one of the stores that Liefeld helped.
That's nice. You see, that's something that like, I mean, you cannot expect every store to do that because not everyone has the drive, the passion, or the energy, or the time to actually do that. It's not easy to run a business. But I feel like something like that. It's a good way to keep current these days.
Well, the person, Jennifer, the store that's local to her, the person who runs that store has been actually like delivering shit to people's houses and going out of her way to do all this other stuff.
Yeah, Katie, like if I can shout out like any like shop, I mean, there's a million that I would, but Katie at Books with Pictures has been 100% going above and beyond and just owns that shop for sure.
Yeah, the shop Gambit and I did go to, like, I don't want to say he's low energy, but he does as little as possible to get by. And it's kind of frustrating. Like, we'll order books, we'll never see those books.
Sometimes, yeah.
And then I'll ask for those books, and he'll go, "Oh, well, you didn't ask for it." I was like, "No, I did." He won't order any image books unless it gets popular. He won't order any third-party books unless you special order it. Like, it's frustrating.
There's another store around here that they're offering deliveries if it's close to the store. They're offering free deliveries after certain amount of order. That's not like gonna go order a single issue and they're gonna deliver it for free because that'll be abusing the power. But anyway, so they're doing that free delivery, and I've been doing some sketches for them, and they're giving sketches to people on orders over $50, I think it is, and it feels good to be able to help in a way, especially a store that like that person that you were telling that he's doing a little bit more to keep people interested, like, and I feel like these days, if you want to bring someone into at the door of your business, you have to make them feel interested about it. You have to engage with them, and that's a great way. Like, hey, this book this week, this book came out, and the art is this, and it's written by this, and this is the artist, and it's published by this, and so, and it looks really good. And from what I can tell, I'm like, oh, I read it, and I recommend it. Those type of things, that type of service, I feel like it's needed. We don't get that much anymore.
Jamal, this is a great question. For me, it's having your staff interested in the books that they're selling, like they get passionate about. When I was at Barnes & Noble, we had monthly books that we would hand sell, that we'd staff rec, that we'd put a discount on. For the LCS, though, they have to have books they get behind. Literally, that you're going to hand sell at the counter. 100%. Yes, your social media presence and what you're pushing helps. There's different ways with them helping in the community. I don't know how many are actually going to help in your community other than like their free comic book day.
I think that question is so tough because it also depends on the personal commitment that a like local shop owner can put into the store. Like, I understand that not every single local comic book shop owner has the time, the energy, the space in their life to be able to put on a big community event. But I think that the stores that I've always loved have always done events like not just free comic book day, but will do like one weekend a month and invite a local artist into their shop to come do artwork. Yes. I remember when I lived in South Carolina, Tangled Web in South Carolina did that a lot. And they were very big in the community as far as anytime a big comic book movie came out, he would actually sell tickets and be able to like do a local thing with the shop. So that was always really cool to see. Like he would partner with the movie theater to be able to do events like that. So I think that that question is a lot because not every comic book store can devote the resources to that, other than putting on events and things that may not get a good return on investment for you. I think one thing like you two that you guys mentioned is just giving a shit about your customers. Like number one, like give a shit about what your customers are reading and recommend things. Like don't be afraid to like hand sell things to your customers. If you know you have a customer that likes Image, why not stock? Like I'm not saying get every Image title but at least get the number ones and the number two, like at least get those, even if it's not all the way up to issue like 30 or 40 of a series, like at least have a pulse on what your customers are reading. And sometimes you have to be your customer's pulse. Like you have to be excited about the stories that you're selling.
Well, also like previews gives the worst fucking introductions to any book. Like
it does.
They literally don't tell you shit about what it is. Die might have been the most accurate they ever gave, saying it's Jumanji for goths.
Yeah.
Which I read that and I was like, okay, well,
Jumanji for goths?
Yeah, like literally, like, and then when I read that they said it's like the D&D cartoon, but what happened after those people came back, I was like, oh fuck, yeah, like
Right.
I'm
Right?
100% like no.
Oh shit.
I think that it's tough, and like even now it's so tough for comic book stores, and like 100% single issues have a very little profit margin for a lot of shops, and sometimes you have to order vast amounts to get any discounts. So like it's a tough game, and I applaud anyone who's in the game, even if you're not doing it very well. But you can 100% tell the difference between a shop that invites a lot of people in and a shop that cares about its people versus another shop that just wants to like sell you, I don't know, back issues that aren't worth the cover price.
I feel like having a staff that knows what they're talking about. If I go to a record store or an instrument store and I say, hey man, I'm looking for a nice pickup for my bass guitar, what do you recommend? And the person goes like, what's a pickup? I'll be like, okay, I'm out. I'm not gonna buy anything here, you know? Same goes with a comic book store. You go to a comic book store, I sometimes go into a comic book store and I go like, man, you know, I'm kind of tired of reading the same things. What do you recommend? What's out new this week that you recommend? Or in the past 2 weeks or something like that. And if they go like, I don't know, that's it, I'm done, you know? But if they go, I've encountered employees that go like, oh shit, I got this for you. Hey, I know you like Lobo. Check out this book that I found on one of the boxes. Do you have it? No, I don't have it. Awesome, that's a good find. Or like, oh, I know you like this writer, so I have these 2 books that he wrote last year, and this is volume 1 and volume 2. I'm gonna put them in your folder. If you want to take them, awesome. If not, don't worry about it. And I go like, of course I'm gonna take them. You know, it's like
the shop we go to, the workers actually give more to us than the owner did.
Yeah.
Or even we recommend to each other. But it is one of those weird things because I mean the owner of the shop used to make fun of me because like I had this weird thing with the Guardians of the Galaxy characters that eventually ended up in there, like Quasar and all that shit. Like he'd make fun of me. Straight up make fun of me because of the stuff I was buying.
Really?
Oh yeah. And then Guardians of the Galaxy got big and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you want Rocket Raccoon.
So, sorry, I had to like step away and grab it. I can tell you the exact moment or one of the exact moments that I fell in love with Tangled Web in Spartanburg, South Carolina when I was there. So he knew that my partner and I really enjoyed Paul Pope. And so he was like, hey, I found something by Paul Pope. I put it in your pull box. You know, if you want it, that's great. If not, I was going to sell it online, but I wanted to give it to one of my like customers first. So it's this really like kind of rare. It's called the Ballad of Dr. Richardson. And inside it came with these limited edition prints that are signed. And then this really rare like ash can thing that he only did like 100 of. And so, like, when I got that from that shop, like, for that shop to just, like, care and to have a pulse on what I liked, I'm like, you will have a forever customer for me because you, like, hand put this, like, I don't know, that was like a hug in a comic book form.
Right?
And, like, I've looked this up. Like, I have not seen this on eBay on sale for, like, at least 8 years now. Like, so it's super, super rare. He only gave it away at like one comic book convention over 10 years ago.
Nat, what do you use when you go to pick books out? Are you using previews or are you just going by recommendations? Like, what are you doing?
I still use the Midtown website pre-ordering. And then I just write it down on the pull list because I have like a sheet, like an Excel sheet with my comic book store, and I will just write it on there, and I'll update, and then he'll see it.
Oh, nice.
So
that's a great
tip. I use Midtown's website to determine what's hot. So if they're limiting to one or two, Midtown's website, if they're limiting to 1 or 2 copies per customer, I know there's interest. So the speculator in me starts going into effect where I'm like, okay, I might need to order this just because I know people are after this. So I've been using modern books to buy Silver Age books by flipping them.
I still pre-order like a month or 2 ahead, so I won't even know if a book's going to be hot or not. Like if I see something and I read and I am like a bit interested, I'll write it down and I'll order it.
Anything with Punchline, I will pre-order, and any Image Firsts, I will go ahead and pre-order just because I know at some point they will end up being flip books.
You see, I don't pre-order books unless it's something that I know that I really want, because I don't know if in 2 months from now I'm still gonna want that book. You know, it's like I go to the store. There's books that I know I definitely want, and I get them, right? But I like to go and walk through the store on Wednesdays and see what's new. And sometimes I'm like, this looks interesting, and I pick it up, you know. And that's why that's why I've missed a lot of stuff, because it doesn't get to the store, and then I learn about it like on issue 6. I said, can we get issue 1? No, it's impossible. I said, nice, thank you. You know. So yeah, having the product would help too. Sorry.
Nat, if you need to go, it's okay.
You okay, Nat?
I think for me, like the conversation.
Hey guys, I gotta go.
Yeah, I figured it was time.
So,
yeah. It's okay.
I'm sorry. Thanks for having me. Bye.
I think this is another one of those, like, why I love Image so much, because Image titles are all creator owned. So for me, like, I follow a lot of the creators, and I feel like I have kind of a pulse on what's coming out. And of course, like, I love Image anyway, so I get their like, whenever they come out with something new, they're like, okay, these are the things that we're coming out with, like their little like newsletters and stuff. I feel like those get me more so than like previews. I haven't looked at a previews in like 3 months.
Just on top of what you're saying, though, I need to remind people, if you want to support the creator, buy the single issues. If you're supporting the company, buy the trades, because Image is geared that the single issues pay the creators. Once the trades come out, Image gets the money, not the creators. Image gets the lion's share.
That's an interesting information to know, because
single issues, like Ed Brubaker knows the game, so the single issues will have all the extra information and bonuses that you won't get in the trades. So that's why Image got behind Walking Dead so strong, because the trades started selling so strong. Image got the lion's share of the money. Not the creators. Image did. So when you see the creators of Image books going out of their ass pushing a book, that's why.
Yeah.
So Josh Williamson, he got on his ass on Twitter nonstop about Ghosted, about Nailbiter, building up interest in it. and he was giving away free books. Mike Henderson was giving away free books. Like, they knew how to play the game, and that's how you have to play the game with Image. Kieran Gillen and all of them knew what to do.
Yeah.
Sanimation, if you ever want to come on and talk with us about comics, I will gladly have you on. I would love to have you on. Your passion for it is fascinating, and I love that you're so interested in this. And
please join us. Please join us.
Jen and I managed to get you to read Planetary, and that you appreciate our love of it. I love that you like our streams. I really do.
I got that. I thought that was the biggest compliment whenever Sanimation, whenever you said that, like, we actually talk about books that we're reading and not just about like speculator books and not just like whipping our biggest collection out. Like, ooh, like I've got this and a 9.8. Like, I really appreciated like you love our love for it. So thank you. That was the best.
The fact that she said her wallet couldn't keep up with what we were recommending.
Yeah. And the book you're wondering about is Black Monday Murders by Jonathan Hickman.
Yes. And it is an exposition dump like you've never seen before. House of X is pretty bad, but this is like, you got to read every fucking bit of subtext.
Yeah. There's like at least half an issue's worth of just like script. Just written script.
So since we're way past hour and a half mark.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah. Time flies.
And also, Natalie, if you watch this after the fact, thank you so much for coming on. I know you didn't probably get the time you thought you were going to get on here, and we talked way too fucking much. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but I love every time you come on. You are one of my favorite guests. You're one of my favorite people in the world. You helped me out when I was having a nervous breakdown. Like, I can't thank you enough.
Join us again.
This is my recommendation for the next month. We Can Never Go Home. It is by Josh Hood, Matthew Rosenberg. Black Mask was one of the studios that were actually helping out comic stores. If you bought their product, if you showed them a receipt of what you bought, they were sending the shops the same money you spent.
Oh, that's nice.
So I thought this was kind of a way to thank them for what they were doing, even though they're not a big publisher. This is a book that, as an indie, I really loved. It is somewhat of a teen runaway novel, but with superpowers involved.
All right.
But not like Runaways.
No, it might not be. It might not be for everyone. The character Madison is one of my favorite characters in print right now. Matthew Rosenberg, he ended up abandoning most of Black Mask once he got a Marvel deal. Let me out. He wrote X-Men Red for a while. Killed Wolfsbane.
Spoiler alert.
Not really. She's back. It doesn't matter. Oh wow, Sanimation. This is a comment. I feel like being on a toilet. Toilet was the biggest dick. Wow.
You know, I would 100% have to agree with you as like not being interested in like really any of that. Like, man, I feel like I try to get into so many other like streams, and some of them are fun, but really sometimes it's just about like who can like pull out the biggest dick in the comic book. Like,
I'm a collector. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a collector. I'm a speculator. But it's never for the reasons that you'd think it was for. Like, it's not to have bragging rights. It's just like the modern books I pick up. It's just to flip to get older books I want, and they're in my collection and they don't move.
Yeah.
It's just that Gambit is always filling his X-Men collection, no matter the grade.
Yeah. I don't care. I just want to have that nice run. I have a very impressive X-Men collection right now. I mean, at least for me, it's a very impressive X-Men collection.
The Death of Gwen Stacy is my Spider-Man book. That is my dream book, and that's only because it killed the Silver Age. And Gwen Stacy was one of the characters that resonated with me for some reason. And I'm kind of glad they brought her back as Spider-Gwen, even though it's not that same Gwen Stacy,
Yeah.
but she at least is back alive. The whole showing off your collection thing I never understood, because it does seem like a dick measuring contest.
It really feels like seriously, sometimes I'm like, can you dudes just like jerk each other off screen, or like get an OnlyFans or something? But
wow. I'm a fan of the medium. I've always
Yeah.
loved the medium. Like, I was a very lonely child who had my comic books. That was
Yeah.
what got me through
Same.
my teen years.
Same.
And I have this affection for it. I stand for writers. I stand for artists. Like Frank Miller, no one will ever understand him like I do, because of the time period I came from as being an older reader. What he brought to Batman was something that we didn't see. Do I like Holy Terror? Fuck no. No. That was racist.
I've never read Holy Terror.
It was racist. It was fucking 100% racist after 9/11.
Yeah.
Somebody told me, so when they, hey, do you want to read Holy Terror? And I said, what is that? It's Frank Miller's new book. I said, yeah, of course it's Frank Miller. And he looked at me and said, okay, you're not gonna like it. And I said, why? He said, you're not gonna like it. And I said, so I'm not going to read it. And I never read it.
It was racist. It was just basically after 9/11, he was like, we're going to attack brown people.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
And he had his whole Occupy Wall Street rant attack on them. And yeah, there were some Occupy Wall Street people that were just there to fuck around and not really there to actually spread the word.
Yeah.
But Frank does have his moments. I mean, and I will give him credit, because there was a New York Comic Con panel that is on YouTube where it was him, Brian Edward Hill, Scott Snyder, Tom King, and a couple other people. Sean Gordon Murphy was there, and Tom King started explaining his Batman, and Frank Miller turned to him and goes, well, that sounds fucking boring.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding. He goes, why
Wow.
would you have Batman getting in touch with his feelings that much? And I was like,
Because Batman's an emo kid.
I mean, I give Tom King credit for trying something different, I guess, for being ballsy enough to try it. That's something that he will always I will give him respect for that. I don't mind when you're trying something. Hey, girls, when you're trying something, the cats are just making noise for the sake of making noises now. When you're trying something different, trying something maybe that you haven't tried first with this character, or you haven't seen with this character before. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad. You know what I mean? So for that, he got there and he tried it. He tried to give his best story about it. For me personally, at some point, it felt repetitive.
Scott Snyder's students, who Tom King is one of, taking over his book. James Tinian's one. But Jamal, you 100% have the question of the day. Does seeing Frank's views make you look at his old work with a different perspective?
Yes.
Well, 100% say if you look at Dark Knight Returns, the African-American characters that show up, you really look at them different. I 100% did, and I love that book, but there is a point in there where they actually have the one or two black characters show up where I'm like, oh boy, this is not a good portrayal. And I don't want to go that whole old, well, it's the time that it happened. No.
Even because for me, if Frank Miller, even when he's not Batman, I always think of Sin City when I think of Frank Miller, and even taking a look at some of those characters, and I do have some of the perspective of oh, that was just the writing at the time. I think that it was unchecked. I think that there wasn't a lot of perspective. So I do think that we look at it now in a different perspective. Do I still do I have a place in my heart for Sin City? For sure. Do I have a place in my heart for all of the Batman stories that I've read? For sure. But I'm going to look at it in a different perspective, and it's not going to be the high recommended ones.
He'll also always say that Sin City was an ode or tribute to Will Eisner.
Mm-hmm.
Will Eisner, when he was doing his Spirit Run, had some of the most racist fucking portrayals of African Americans I've ever seen. The giant fucking lips, it's horrible. And again, I try to put it was the time it was published versus, but still.
Yeah, but you see, with Will Eisner, you can actually say that that's how that you can actually attribute that to just complete ignorance. You know, you can say
I was wrong.
You know, you can say, back then they were he legit did not know anything else. He legit did not have any other experience aside from that, and that's why he wrote it that way, because that's what he knew. That was his reality at the time, But there are things that, Frank Miller is too. I feel like it's too close to modern era to get away with racist stuff. I didn't know that the Holy Terror book was that bad. Because my friend only told me that, hey, you're not gonna like it. And I've heard rumors and stuff, and I'd say I can't accuse someone of that just because someone else said that someone else said.
It was supposed to be published by DC, and DC got the finished script, and we're like, oh fuck no.
No. Yeah. Damn.
It was Batman fighting Al Qaeda, and they were like, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, no.
And it's weird because like I said, Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams during the 70s were actually literally doing social justice stuff. Maybe a little bit more low key, but there's that scene still from Green Arrow, Green Lantern, where the African American man is saying you've done a lot for the blue people, the red people. What have you done for the black people? And questioning Green Lantern about it, and Green Lantern's just well, what are you talking about? Not understanding because he's been off Earth for so long. And it's one of the most brilliant scenes in all of probably that era of comics because people weren't talking about it.
Because there's no politics in comics.
We didn't talk about politics in comics back then, apparently.
Now. None now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's so stupid to say that. I saw a meme the other day that said, oh, comics are not supposed to be that political. Anyways, my favorite comic book is Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns. What? It's
I heard it. I even sent it to Jen when the last episode we did, that Kitty Pryde panel where she's talking about racism. 100% that is the panel that I sat there and I started questioning my parents. Because every word she said was something I heard my parents say. It was a New Mutants. It was a New Mutants issue where this kid who was hiding the fact he was a mutant killed himself.
Oh shit!
And Kitty Pryde goes to that school and she's like, "I'm Catherine Pryde. I'm a nerd. I'm a kike. I'm this. I'm that." And she starts going through all these racial
slurs.
And I'd heard my parents say every fucking one of them.
Oh.
And Kitty Pryde was my first comic crush, I guess you could call it. So when she said something, I listened because I was a fucking lonely ass kid. And I said to Jennifer, and Jennifer's like, I fucking love Kitty Pryde. She's the perfect character to have said all of those things.
Yep.
And the way they brought it across in that story, Chris Claremont fucking nailed it. I mean, maybe he gets the credit he deserves because X-Men was such a hot button comic for 25 years at least.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that was the issue that hit it with me going, oh my God, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I've been listening to these fucking people talk and say these things for so many years, not knowing how hurtful it was, and then seeing it in print. And maybe that's my fault, how I
when
was
you're a
raised.
kid, you don't know any different. Like, you hear people say those words, like people that, you know, you're supposed to respect, and like, especially their authority on all things. And then someone else who that you have respect for, even if it's a comic book character, is like, no, these words are wrong. And you're like, I don't know.
And unfortunately, I realized later on, you can't change people.
You
Just
can't.
can't.
Nope.
So
and that's one thing I've had to learn, is that, like, no matter how much you love someone, like, your love will never save them from abuse, from depression, from drugs, anything. And
So, like, I was engaged to a Jewish girl. My mom flat out asked me if her parents had a lot of money. I'm not even fucking kidding around. This is the shit that would come out of their mouths. And even knowing what I know now, I was shocked.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry my mom's passed, but, like, I'm not gonna not let her slide on this shit.
Yeah.
But again, there's stuff in our lives we're gonna encounter, and it's not always gonna be great. Do I love my mother? Yes.
I think comic books filled the gap on, like, teaching us where, like, I don't know, all of those things that, all those stories that, like, because your parents, like, you know, they can't teach you everything. They can't be there for everything. So, you know, I know for me, like, especially during my, like, teenage formative years, graphic novels and novels in general, like, they did that for me. And that's why they're so special.
The death of Captain Marvel, first thing I ever heard about cancer and cancer killing a superhero, it affected the shit out of me.
Yeah.
My aunt eventually died of cancer. Weirdly, I was ready for it. It's the Black Death. You can't avoid it. It will come for you all. I'm sorry if this is taking a real dark turn. I mean, honestly, like, this is talking about how comics can affect us in our lives. And we've all had a moment where something touched us in a way that we weren't expecting. There's a comic, there's a book. To Kill a Mockingbird's one of my favorite books. And for Christ's sakes, if that ever is a snapshot of the South during a real, real dark time, that would be it.
Yeah.
I would like to read that.
It is the movie. Weirdly, Gregory Peck is in it, playing the main character, Atticus Finch. People base their whole legal careers after watching that movie.
Jesus.
Because he's such the epitome of just justice.
I can't believe I haven't seen that.
He's great in that movie. It is the movie that made me want to read that book. Again, weirdly, this show is taking a dark turn. So what are some books we want to recommend to people to read that we might be reading now that might not be on their normal reading list?
I don't know. I feel like... Oh, sorry.
No, you go, because I don't have one in mind yet.
I feel like the things that I'm getting into right now, the things that I'm discovering right now, most everyone else that I know has already been... keep hearing things back there. Most everyone I know, you know, it's already up to date with it. You know, like, for example, I want to read Southern Bastards next, right? And I know that all of my friends have read Southern Bastards, you know. So for me, I'm getting into things that I'm kind of behind.
I would easily say it's Jason Aaron's darkest work.
Wow. I mean, the goddamn was pretty intense.
It's the racism.
I have volume 1 of Southern Bastards, and I have yet to finish it.
The racism in it and the stuff in it is so heavy.
Yeah.
And weirdly, I believe 100% of it.
Oh, especially, like, from what I've heard and growing up in the South, man. Then examine the comic book characters you were drawn to in youth, and why Wolverine, because he could heal, couldn't be broken, loner, etc. He's a loner, but he's actually been part of the most amount of comic book teams ever, even though he's
the
a loner.
loner that
Wolverine.
needs to be around people.
Yeah, I feel like I identify that a lot because, like, I'm an introvert, but I feel like I'm an introvert that has, like, if you see me in person, I'm so extra shy and awkward, but I feel like I can just like ramble on video to like imaginary internet land out here. But I feel like I still need to be around people and like I need to have human connection. So I get that with Wolverine a little bit, like where I'm a loner bub.
Batman, the man who walks among gods.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's
Like
interesting.
Kitty Pryde, the girl who could become intangible but needed human touch. And like again, her Jewish background and how like much they focused on it. And I grew up in pretty much an all Jewish neighborhood as the only Christian kid in the area.
Oh wow.
And like I know like a lot of people gravitated towards Luke Cage and Black Panther if they were African American. That was all they had during the day. Falcon.
Yeah. Storm,
the strongest
yeah,
female woman of color, I think, in almost any medium.
especially like I would say modern, like when I think about like DC Marvel, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
The next one up would probably be Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan.
Ooh, yeah.
That's why I didn't like that was one of the few things that I didn't like about the X-Men movies is that their portrayal of Storm was so weak, considering how strong the character is. I feel like the movies did not make justice to the character of Storm as it should
weak
have.
actress. Although the girl who they had in the last two movies, I thought was the most accurate to looking like Storm, between the mohawk and everything else. But she didn't have the charisma, the just badassness to her.
Yeah, I think that could have just been the writing. Like that's just the whoever wrote that character.
Well, because Brian
Singer
wants some twinks in the movie.
Yeah.
Who?
Bryan Singer.
Oh, Brian. Oh, that's right. Bryan Singer was a director on the last one, right?
Yeah, the last two. Matthew Vaughn, I really like the 1960s one they did. First Class.
First Class.
I really like that one.
I've been watching these pitch meeting videos on YouTube, and
what have you been watching?
Pitch meeting ones.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's like super easy, brilliant inconvenience, dude. Anyway, so I was watching the X-Men ones the other day, and it brought to attention some things that I was like, wait, damn, I did not think about that. It's how, when you think about the timeline, how old Magneto should be by X-Men Rise of the Dark Phoenix, and he's not. It's like, oh, wait, he should be like super old right now. And I'm thinking of stupid things like that because of that show, things that I normally don't fucking care, All
right, Jamal, your question is pretty loaded. I don't know if a show would work, but I think with better writers, a better writing room, a movie might work better for X-Men.
I think that a movie would work better for X-Men just because of the budget. Like if they were going to do a show, it would need to be on like a platform that would just do like an insane budget, and I just think movies have that more than shows.
Legion's the closest, and weirdly because they got Aubrey Plaza, who I'm not gonna lie, I'm in love with.
Yeah, she steals that show, man.
Yeah. So I've only seen a few episodes of Legions. I feel like X-Men would work great on a short series, not long series. Not something with more than 13 episodes, maybe 15 episodes.
I think the money pull it off.
Short seasons like that on a network like on a like HBO or Showtime, someone that has money to put into the show,
I did
that-
say this with the X when we were talking about the Hickman episode. Like, I
Mhm.
could 100% see House of X, Powers of X, that series as a show. Like, 100%, I could see that as a show.
Yeah, me too.
And weirdly, X-Men is one of the one brands that has a ton of multicultural characters that they never fucking focus on enough. They introduce them and they don't spend enough time on them.
Yep, because people want to see Cyclops and Emma Frost.
It's kind of frustrating.
It is super frustrating. Tell me about it.
I think that they need to do, what I'd like to see is what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, because Guardians of the Galaxy was pretty obscure. Like, can we just get an obscure team together?
Well, that's why
Like-
I think New Mutants would be that movie, and they can't fucking figure out if it's going to be in the theaters, if it's going to be on streaming, or what the fuck it is.
I
don't know.
say,
I don't know what the problem is.
I just want to see Quentin Quire. Like, I want to see like a little punk kid. Like, I just want to see him in a team. Like, give me Quentin Quire.
I just want magic. That's
and Magic, 100%. Give me Ilyana.
And ever since I saw Anna Taylor-Joy doing that weird like smirk as Magic, I was like, all right, give it to me.
Yeah.
Like, I always wanted Micah Monroe from It Follows and The Guest to be her, but I've kind of fallen for Anna Taylor-Joy playing it. So I'm down for it. And I want to see Wolfsbane.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's Arya Stark.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And
We'll
we're
see
gonna,
it in a couple months, hopefully.
I think they said October now.
Are we?
I
are
saw
we?
August.
Are
Maybe
we
August.
really going to see it? Are we really going to see it? Because I feel like they're just gonna keep pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back.
It's a weird thing. I don't know with Disney, like, and then Rob Liefeld went on a rant about how they're not going to do anything with Deadpool. Which
You see,
Deadpool, that's a Disney movie. It's a dick joke. It's one long running dick joke.
It is. It is. And I feel like they're dumb if they don't capitalize on the character because it's still a character that sells. But they should keep the character as
I would do an X
raw
movie.
As raw as he is, you know. You cannot tame that character down because otherwise he's just gonna be stupid.
Hey,
and
friends.
if Disney can do that,
you gotta go.
I do.
I mean, it's
Bye,
2 hours
guys.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
I'm about to turn into a pumpkin. And I know
we're
it's like
way-
1 o'clock your time.
It is.
It is 1 o'clock.
It's went way over what I intended. Jamal, I did love that class. I love the punk vibe. I love the 80s.
Bye.
And we're gonna wrap this up because this went way, way, way too long.
Yeah.
So next episode, it's gonna be Black Mask. We Can Never Go Home.
You can never go home.
Rosenberg with Tyler Boss. Josh Hood. It's a favorite of mine from a very, very low publisher. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Jamal, thank you for staying with us for almost all 2 hours. I appreciate it. Senimation, you're the best. Also, if you ever want to come on, let us know. Gambit, thank you for staying up and getting involved with this. Also,
Of course, man.
And again, if any of you loved Monstress, we didn't talk bad about it. It's just slow. 100% slow.
Yes,
where can they find you, and what are you doing, Gambit? Do you have any
Me,
deals? Sketches?
we're getting ready to reopen the studio, to fully reopen the studio again soon. I've been working on a 2-page filler story for a local comic book, and working on my new book about time traveling and stuff like that.
Time travel again, huh?
Yeah. Right now I was doing this sketch of Spawn while we were talking.
I weirdly have a favorite Spawn now. the Gunslinger spawn. They've started kind of reintroducing.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty cool one. Yeah.
You can find me at comic_chop_news on Instagram, and you can find me on Twitter at chopcomic. We're going to be back next month with another book club. It'll be the 1-year anniversary. And you can find Jennifer and I every Wednesday talking about stupid shit and some new comics when they come out.
Oh man, I can't wait for new comics to come out.
It'd be nice having that again. It's weird though after so much time that not have. And Cinemation, I appreciate you. I know it's morning where you're at, and you're at work. She's in Amsterdam.
Oh shit! Damn.
That's like 10, 11 hours. And Sid, when you watch this, love you. Thank you for at least watching. Appreciate it.
For staying with us for a little bit. Yeah.
So we're just gonna keep chugging on. Again, new comics. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be fun to have new stuff out. Unfortunately, I was ready to talk about Nailbiter Returns in April 1st, and it got pushed back. Now it's June 1st.
Oh man. I don't know if I'm going back to I don't know if I'm going back to full list. I think I'm gonna hold off on the buying single issues for a little bit.
I'm down to 6 books. I'm getting on the monthly.
Yeah, at least for a few months. Until like I settle some things that I need to settle here. But yeah, I can't wait to be able to walk into a comic book store again, man.
It's going to be nice. And, there's some books that I don't normally pick up that I might pick up again just to kind of at least feel like I did.
I feel you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. Take care. Farewell. And
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.